Hello everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and today I am making a birthday card for my niece. Now my niece really likes the Disney princesses, and I don't have a princess cartridge, but I did have this package of paper left over from my days of having a scrapbooking store. And my daughter's too old for princesses anyway, so I thought I would just play with this. And so I texted my sister and asked her which was her favorite princess, and she said Ariel. So I went to this set of papers and I found a page that had Ariel on it, and then I fussy cut her. Now Ariel isn't really my favorite princess, and part of the reason is I think she needs a few more clothes on. So this time I decided to fussy cut the crab and the fish and put them as if they were in her lap, and that just kind of covers her up and makes her a little more covered. Now I used for my papers, I also used the page that she came on, and it's this blue paper. It has different stripes and fish and going different directions, and so I decided to just use that as my base paper. So let's get started. There's a few other things I'm going to be using. I have these I believe it's, let's see, these happy birthday stamps. It's just all about birthdays here. I don't see a name on it, but this is from TPC Studio, and it just has different birthday sentiments and celebrating and those kind of things. So I'm using that on the card. And then from K. Andrew Designs, I'm using Positive Thoughts, and today I'm using Today Is Your Day, and so we'll use that. And so I started out my card by cutting, as I said, I fussy cut Ariel and the crab and the fish, and but this paper is really thin because this is scrapbooking paper and not regular cardstock, and it was too thin to really add sturdiness to the card. So before I fussy cut it, I took a piece of just white scrap cardstock and I adhered it really well behind my printed paper, and then I fussy cut around that so it was a little bit thicker, and then I've got it popped up on pop dots. And then for the same reason, I felt like this the paper itself would not make a strong enough card base, so I took another scrap, and you can see it truly is a scrap here, and I adhered my piece of paper, and it's actually 4 1/4 inches tall by 5 1/2 inches wide, and I adhered that really well. And then I took my Tim Holtz distress tool and I distressed around the edges. So that's where we're going to start from here. Now I was going to just stamp directly onto this piece of paper, and just sitting on my desk from a different project was this piece of kind of an iridescent vellum, and so we're going to try to stamp on that. Now if you've used vellum much, you know that vellum is slick, and so you have to kind of be very careful with it. So I actually want to emboss on my vellum today and not just stamp on it. So I have this old, I've had this for many years, this old powder little bag, and that just kind of helps take away the static so that the slick vellum won't pick up a lot more of my embossing. And then I have the happy birthday, and it's kind of an elegant print, even though this is a card for a young girl. She's only, I believe she's going to be 6, but I thought it went better with just the overall feel of the card. And I think I'm going to go kind of high up here and just press it down really well. And I know you can't see that because I just used a Versamark on it, but you will see in just a minute how well that pops. I'm just going to slide this piece of paper, and I have this silver embossing powder that I bought years ago at Hobby Lobby, and we're just going to sprinkle it all over the top. Now you can be pretty generous with this, because after you pick up your piece and knock off the extra powder, you can just put it right back inside of your container, which is what I'm going to do. Looks like I missed a little bit there. So we'll just set that aside so I can pick up my embossing powder, because once you start heating that, it will make a big mess. If I don't want it permanently adhered to my surfaces, so I want to get rid of that right now. Now I'm working on this small mat today because I'm going to do some paper piercing, and this is a self-healing mat. So the next step is to get my embossing tool out, my embossing heat tool, and just quickly emboss it. Now I'm going to heat it on the side here. Just like that, and there, we're done with that part. So it says happy birthday, and now what we're going to do is we're going to position it on to the piece of paper. Now if you've worked with vellum before, you know that vellum is very thin and it's very difficult to hide your adhesives underneath it. So this is how I'm going to do that today. I'm going to look and just kind of eyeball where my other elements are going to go. And Ariel is actually going to go right about there. And so I know I can put adhesive right here because it will be covered. And so that's this first step to getting this adhered, is just putting just a little bit of adhesive there in a place where I know it won't show. Now what about all the other corners? Well, that is where my mat here is going to come in. I found these two brads in my brad stash, and these are actually from Fancy Pants, and we're going to use that to adhere the other corners down. So I have my paper piercer here, and I'm just eyeballing it, but I'm just gonna pierce it through there and right about there. And then we will use our brads to go ahead and, looks like I need to go through a little bit deeper there. There we go. So some of this will still be loose, but that's okay, because by the time the card comes together completely, it will still, it should stay down without any problem, and it shouldn't fall apart while in the mail and stuff. So that way we can just keep it down. And it adds a little, I was trying to decide what I wanted to add to those corners anyway. Now I found this, I went to pull some ribbon out of my stash, and I found this really delicate, kind of a feathery almost ribbon that I had purchased at my local scrapbooking store quite a while back. And I just thought that added just that extra touch. And I'm just going to use plain old Scotch adhesive tape to hold that down on the back, and it just adds just a little pretty touch there. And then we'll go ahead and adhere. Well, before we adhere Ariel down, let's go ahead and put this onto our card base. It's just easier to not have the dimension of the foam tape, and this is the exact same size as my base, so there won't be any overhang, or there won't be any margins around the edge, which isn't typically how I do my cards, but for this card I wanted there not to be, because I just wanted that blue to be the main thing that you saw. Just a really delicate light blue. So we're going to adhere that right there. Now before I go ahead and put Ariel on the front, I want to go ahead and finish off the inside. Now I told you that I used some of this paper. I used a good portion of that 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and this is where I'm going to stamp the inside sentiment. And I thought that this time it's a light enough blue that no matter what color I am writing with, you should be able to see the printing. So I thought I would just go ahead and use that for the base of the card instead of having some lighter as well. And then this is where I'm going to stamp "Today is your day," and I'm using Faded Jeans Distress ink on that. And then all we have to do is adhere that to the base of the card. And we are just about finished with this card. It was actually a pretty simple card once I thought through all the steps that I wanted to take. Now this one is actually not going to cover the full inside. I did leave a margin of white around it. So I actually cut this at 4 inches tall by 5 1/4 inches wide, just so that there would be a little bit of white around the edges. Okay, and so let's put Ariel down. And she will actually go right there, just like so. So thanks for watching and have a great day.